Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast, Welcome to Livingston, where we invite local businesses, people, and organizations in to talk about what they are giving to our community. My name is Don Patella.
And I'm Angela Patella, and we're with the Patella Group Real Estate Professionals. As realtors and brokerage owners, we bring valuable insight into the local market and community every week.
Thanks for listening, and welcome to Livingston. Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of our podcast, Welcome to Livingston. My name is Don Patella.
And I'm Angela Patella, and we're with the Patella Group Real Estate Professionals.
Yes, and we are so excited to be here today. Before we get started, I just wanted to give a nice quick word to our sponsor, shout out. Today's episode of the Welcome to Livingston podcast is brought to you by our valued sponsor, Jim Paquette with Lake Michigan Credit Union. He is a trusted mortgage lender who has lived and worked in our community for many years. Jim Paquette is dedicated to helping our neighbors achieve their home ownership dreams and is proud to support the local businesses that make our area special. And we are just so happy to be working with Jim. We are so excited for today's episode. Today we have with us from Yoga Strong, Ashley Watterson. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
This is great. This is going to be a lot of fun because I didn't even know about your organization. So this is a great way to get the word out because you guys are doing some awesome things. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about Yoga Strong? What is it and how'd you get started?
As the story goes, no good story starts with a salad. So mine starts with beer and yoga. I had the opportunity to start a yoga class at Brewery Becker back in 2015. And I kind of went to Matt and said, hey, I'd really love to do yoga in your brewery. And Matt's like, okay, but like no one's going to drink beer after yoga. And, 9 years later, we celebrated 9 years in September. I'm still doing that class. And Matt will say to me, it doesn't matter whether it's July, January, October. He's like, you have a packed house every week.
Awesome. That is so cool.
And then they drink beer afterwards?
Before, during, after, all the above.
Perfect. Well, hey,
or they don't at all. I mean, it doesn't really, just because it's in a brewery doesn't necessarily mean you have to drink beer. It just means it's an option.
Yes.
Right. Well, and it's such a beautiful brewery too. Like in terms of their building, their facility, it seems like that would be a cool place to do yoga.
It's a fun vibe and it makes it really less intimidating when, sometimes you go into a studio and there's people who are super bendy or they know exactly what they're doing. And when you're someplace that is a little more relaxing, it kind of takes some of the intimidation out of it. And they're a fun group.
Awesome.
That is so cool. I mean, those that don't do yoga and such, it can be intimidating. I've done one yoga class, and before I did the yoga class, I was like, oh, this is easy and everything. And then halfway through, I'm like, I'm going to die.
Well, yes, true to form. And if they feel like they're going to die, they'll either look at me and go, no, I'm not doing that. And they'll literally say it out loud. So people tend to say like what they're thinking in class, which creates a peanut gallery. It's entertaining. And that's the nice part. Like I will tell them, you guys, I'm not that funny. So when they kind of insert their bantering and they've created these friendships and, we've got a group that we call the Muppets. We've got the Three Stooges. Like they create these little friendships in which everybody's kind of got their spot and they know who they can kind of joke with. And it makes it really welcoming and inviting. I try to talk to everybody when I get there. Like I'll go around and collect money and get to know everyone's names. And so that you feel seen, you feel heard, and you feel like you're part of the community, which was the whole reason for starting it. It's like not your average yoga class. It's really like you come here and they're going to embrace you with open arms and they hope that you come back and you become friends with everybody that's there.
So kind of a family.
Very much so.
A
family that, yeah, exactly. That has kind of that philanthropic twist to it. Because when I started it, the whole goal was we're just going to do some scholarships in the community. At the time, I was working with Pinckney volleyball and basketball girls teams and Brighton cross country. And I was noticing like they had a lot of eating disorders and body image issues and self-confidence and self-esteem. And I thought, let's just show them how to do things that they can celebrate their body for instead of beat it up. And also kind of have this team aspect to it where you're communicating with members of your team and you're kind of learning how to do some partner things. And Then I had this idea to do the yoga in a brewery and start a scholarship, and it kind of really snowballed from there. And I keep having what I call great ideas, and they keep saying, yeah, you should do that. And they support me in it. So it's kind of grown from there.
That is so awesome. So the scholarship, because I know there's scholarships out there, but a lot of times parents and kids, they have no idea where to find them or what the requirements are. So tell us a little bit about your scholarship.
That's the hardest part, and part of why I love to be able to be on local podcasts, of letting people know, like, hey, this is available. So we do reach out to all of the counseling departments in the school system, whether people utilize those as a resource or not. I hope they do. Our scholarship is you have to be part of a sport as deemed by your athletic department for 4 years. We don't care if you've been a varsity athlete or not, just a commitment to a sport, for a single sport for 4 years. Last year, we changed it to where we have 2 scholarships. You can be going to trade school. I'm a massage therapist by trade, so I love the fact that, like, you don't have to do traditional education if you don't want to. So it's open to trade schools. It's open to 4-year universities. It's open to community colleges. The only caveat to that is you have to be going to school in Michigan, because we wanted to keep the money local. So last year we did 2 $3,000 scholarships. And that's been we commit to $2,500. We typically increase that a little bit. And it's open to all genders. That's been in the last couple years. So we just continued to expand and hope that we have more kids, because quite frankly, I think the most we've had is 35 kids apply. You got a 2 in 35 chance to win a couple $1,000s. I don't know. I like those odds.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's great. And in terms of the application process, like, how do you guys pick who wins?
So we have a Google form in which there's an essay component. There's some, like, letters of recommendation. They submit transcripts, not for GPA, because we don't have a GPA requirement, just to prove, like, you're eligible for graduation, essentially. And then we have a scholarship committee. I removed myself from that committee 2 or 3 years ago. So there are 3 to 5, depending on the year, individuals who they review, they select, and I present.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that is so nice. I mean, looking at your website, I can see all the different ways that you guys are giving back and everything, and to start that up and everything. But to be giving out scholarships and supporting our local students that are also our local athletes is just amazing.
Yeah, and I've had the opportunity. We've done created a food pantry at Flex Tech High School in Brighton, and gave them kind of the opportunity, hey, look, we're going to build this framework. We're going to fund this for you, and when you need it to be restocked, like, let us know. So it gave the project-based learning kids an opportunity to really create a project and continue it. We've done shoes for kids in the community that need them, just kind of different projects. If people come to us with a need and I go to the board and say, hey, what do you think about this? As long as it has to do with, like, helping kids thrive and bringing them joy, we love that.
Awesome. And yeah, to focus in on essentially teenagers, especially, right?
Yes, it's really focused on teenagers, primarily, I guess. I never really thought about it like that before.
Yeah. Who are kids, and, very important, because they're transitioning into growing up so fast.
Yeah, and they're just trying to figure it out at that point, right? So you try to give them all the tools to be successful and hope that they make good choices.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
But to give them that opportunity at that age to give back and to learn how to give back and learn what that feels like, I think is really good, because it gives them those lessons then. And then as they age and such, then they have those opportunities to give back to the community as well.
To have kindness in their life, because sometimes, I think that's not always the case in our culture today.
So that kind of segues into, we're heading into, like, the biggest project that we have of the year. I want to say, so I started this project in 2018. I had a friend at the time that was teaching at a early learning center in Ypsilanti that was kindergarten, preschool, and first grade. And it would be like, hey, do you have clothes? Do you have this? And just tell us stories with these kids that just would break your heart. So I had the opportunity to talk to a Brighton High School math class. And I said, okay, you want me to talk about business? You want me to talk about nonprofit? How can I help you? So she says, talk about nonprofit. So I talked to that class and then had seen a video. Actually, WestJet Airlines did a really cool project where they took a whole bunch of people on a flight and said, what do you want for the holiday season? And when that flight arrived to their destination, every single thing that they had asked for came off on the conveyor belt. And a school in Illinois had replicated that on a really small scale. They took literally one class of 30 kids and adopted one class of 30 younger kids. And I thought, we can do this on a much bigger scale. So I went to the math class and said, hey, we have this opportunity to adopt this whole school for Christmas. What do you think? And they said, yeah, like, let's do that. And the principal at the time was Gavin Johnston, and he's like, okay, let's, all right. I'll give you a bus if you get to, $4,000 in a week. And we hit $7,000 in a week. And so that became the start of something that this year will be the 6th year we've done that project. It's transition where Brighton High School leadership takes it over. So they have 30 leadership kids who last year they raised $27,000. We did hats, gloves, coats, coloring books, crayons, and wish list gift of choice.
Wow.
So Brighton does a ton of fundraising, right? Like they do an amazing job with Pink Week and Senior Survivor and all of that. They are champions at fundraising. I give them an opportunity to see fundraising start to finish. So you set your budget, you do the fundraising, you do all the fun parts too. You shop for the gifts, you wrap them, and then you get to go take a day and deliver all of them and be with these kids and truly see the impact that you make. And not many projects locally that you get to see start to finish. So I get to impact these big kids and kind of show them life looks different sometimes, and that we're very blessed in this community, but also give these little kids all this joy because, out of the mouth of babes, right? Like 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds just have a different element of joy.
That's true. Yeah. Especially
big
those
kids
that have a hard life, right?
Yeah, and they do. The community that we go into are a Title I school, so 90% of them are low income. In this case, 80% of them live in an apartment complex that's been shot up like 9 times in the last 3 years. So we are the minority going into the school. It's just a different pocket of the community. Like their average income for a family of 4 is $44,000. Brighton's is over $100,000. So you're just seeing a different demographic.
Right, which I think is good for those kids to get exposed to.
It's huge. But now that we've been doing it for 6 years, like I'll go out to a restaurant in the summer when the kids are home from college and they still tell me like how impactful that is and how much they loved it. And so, yeah, it's been really cool. This year, we're taking on a new twist because my goal when we started this is like, how do we replicate it? How do we do more? So this year, Brighton is taking one of the ELCs in Ypsilanti, and I've actually recruited Pinckney to take the other ELC because we had learned that there were 2 of them, and I was devastated to learn that because I didn't know there were 2 ELCs. How have we missed one for the last 5 years?
Right.
Wow. Yeah, the one you've been loving on.
Oh, gosh. I thought, no, we got to fix this.
Yeah.
So I had asked the yoga community, I'm like, so I want to float this idea of adopting 2 schools. Like, what do you think about that? And they laughed at me. They said, is this even a question? Like, you're not asking us. Of course we're going to say you need to do it. Have you already committed to it? I'm like, no, I'm really asking if we should do this. And they're like, yes, hands down. Like, figure out how we're going to do this.
Cool. Oh, that is great.
Yeah, it's really fun and really it's a lot of work. I always forget how much work it is.
Right. So, and the kids do all the fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
So, how does that work? Like for those people listening out there, if they're like, this is amazing, I want to help, I want to give. How does that work?
So the kids we did a new platform this year, Zeffy. So there's like a link if you want to donate to the project. They do a bunch of different fundraisers as well. A lot of them are in school, but I think ladies' night, they carol around town. So they like sing Christmas carols and they get a bucket for donations. And there'll be a couple of things coming up that the community can participate in.
Great. Yeah, because Livingston County is such a fantastic community. A lot of times people want to know how they can get involved and how they can give back.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I know like at the middle schools and stuff, so our daughter's at Scranton.
Okay.
And she's in the leadership class at Scranton.
Okay.
So I know she is so excited that they do on a very smaller scale where they're going to go out and they buy toys and stuff, and they have, families that they're sponsoring and such. So, I mean, I'm sure you're going to see her in a couple of years because she is,
I hope
she is
so.
so
All into
happy
all
to be
that.
involved in all of that. And she knew last year because she was in Target when the leadership group was in there buying for all these people. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, so last year we did in-person shopping. We used to do a lot of things on Amazon and thought, let's see if we can kick this up a notch. So, yeah, we do an in-person shopping day, and then they buy online and wrap a lot of gifts. They become professional wrappers by the time they're done.
No, anyone out there is listening that saw them out at the stores, like the joy on their faces, and they were so excited
Oh, they were giddy. Oh my
of
gosh,
what they were
yeah.
doing. So,
it was great to see.
Yeah, we got a lot of attention that day because Mrs. Armstrong, the teacher, was with the kids at Target. I was with the other kids at Meijer who were also buying a bunch of coats, and people were like, what are you guys doing? Who is all this for? So it was, it's fun.
Yeah. And so at that point in time, at least you have the sizes and the genders and all that. So you kind of have an idea, right?
Yes. So we work with the ELCs. They're great. We have a whole spreadsheet in which each teacher literally asks the kids, like, what's your wish list gift? So we know exactly what they want. And the first year we did it, the Brighton kids were like, well, what if they want hoverboards and Nintendo DSs? And I thought, gosh, if there's ever like a trivia on most popular toys for the year, I'll probably win because it's baby dolls, Spider-Man toys, remote control cars. And at one point it was the LOL dolls. I bought hundreds of them. Couldn't tell you what they are.
There you go.
But they're quite popular.
So Ashley, what is an ELC?
It is Early Learning Center. So there are two in Ypsilanti, and they focus on preschool, kindergarten, and first grade. So that's what they consider ELC. I know we don't have that in Livingston County. And then they go to a different building that's like 2, 3, 4, 5.
Gotcha. No, that helps to know. And it's for you guys to be making a difference is huge.
Do you have the impactful age of like at that, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the impact that has on their lives? And then the teenagers and being able to impact somebody's life. I mean, it's got to be just an amazing thing to see when they're bringing the gifts in and such.
Yeah, and some of the teachers, like you bring the teachers to tears, and they're so excited for these kids because a lot of them, like they're going home with food gatherers boxes every Friday, and they're on school, breakfast, lunch, snack. Like they're very dependent on the community, which means you're probably not getting a gift for the holiday season. And some of the little kids are like, I don't want to take it home. I want to leave it here. And so the Brighton kids and soon to be the Pinckney kids actually go into the classrooms and they spend about a half an hour so that if toys need to be put together, we put them together. We unbox them. If there are batteries that are needed, we do all of that for them. So it's been, I don't know. It's one of my favorite things of the year. I don't sleep for 2 weeks, but it's
Holiday spirit, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Right.
Now you guys also have this Vin and Vine event.
Yeah, so I will do some like micro fundraisers throughout the year. I did that this year in lieu of like a large fundraiser. So we did tacos and tequila earlier this year. And then we did Vin and Vine, and I finally got smart and said, hey, I need wine donations, and here's exactly what I need, so that most of it, or more of it, I should say, actually goes back to the cause and less goes on like the cost of the event. So those are capped at like 25 people. I do one in June and typically one in September, October. And there's a little bit of yoga and a lot of just fun food and cocktails and mocktails or wine. And
Neat, which is actually great for those that aren't beer drinkers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tacos and tequila is a big one. That tends to be a popular one.
What time of year is that one?
June.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been June the last 2 years.
Nice. That one does sound fun.
We all like tacos and tequila.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Can't go wrong, right?
No, absolutely.
So, I mean, this is just amazing that here you are, you start as just doing a yoga class.
Yep.
And it's grown into all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you have thoughts in your head. Like, I mean, you're what, 7-8 years in now?
Yes. So.
And you're growing a little bit every year, it sounds like.
Yeah. We keep growing, which means like I'm not great at asking for help and I'm not great at articulating what I need for help. I'll ask for help when I'm in the weeds and ready to pull my hair out. So this year I'm trying to be very intentional on really laying out a framework of, okay, if I'm going to double this, I personally can't double. I need to ask people who have offered to
People
help.
like to
So
help.
really it's kind of deploying people in the community. So it offers me as much of a lesson sometimes as it does everybody else.
Yeah, no, it's such a great community and people do love to help. So it's good for you to tap into that.
I'm working on it. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Especially, women, we do it all and it's not easy to accept help, certainly to ask for help even.
Yeah. But just as you had said before we started the episode, that this is really like a passion project for you, the podcast. Like Yoga Strong is really a passion project for me. Like I love it. At the time I started it, I didn't really know exactly what my path was going to look like in life. I had started that when I was probably 30, maybe. And at the time I thought, like, oh, I'll have my own kids and things like that. And as this kind of continued to grow and I walked my own path, like I didn't have the opportunity to have kids and I would have loved to. So I kind of felt like, well, maybe my purpose was bigger, that I got to really impact a lot of kids and do something, walk the path a little less traveled.
Yeah.
So kind of took something that could have been not great and made it as great as you can.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Making a difference, because a lot of times that impact that we have in life, we don't know where that is going to come from or where our path is going to lead.
Yep. That is very true.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's like the universe hands you something and you go, okay, I can work with this.
right? Yeah. I mean, goodness knows our podcast has kind of been like that. We've just enjoyed it so much and just really, I just love this community so much. And every day I'm learning something new that people are doing. Just always such good things out there. And so it's such a pleasure to bring in and find out more. And this is so neat. So it's the Bend and Brew that's the yoga and that's probably the best place for somebody to start even, right?
Right. So pun intended, that's the foundation of how it all started, right? Like that's the staple class. And fun fact, we got to be on Channel 7 back in 2019. The guy calls me randomly and says, hey, I want to come to class next week. We're doing a segment on beer and yoga, and you're the only consistent class every single week. So yes, every Tuesday, Brewery Becker, 6 to 7 p.m. You don't have to sign up. You just show up. It's a $10 drop-in and bring your own yoga mat and be willing to have fun.
Awesome. Now, how many people do you end up getting on any given week?
An average of 20. The most we've ever had a couple of different times is 36. And 36 is a pretty packed house.
Wow. Now, do you do that upstairs then, or?
Second floor, when we have a huge group, we end up expanding up into the third floor.
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Such a pretty building. I do like it. I'm not always the biggest beer drinker, but that's why it's exciting to see that you have tequila and wine and other things.
Yeah, it's
and you don't have to drink beer. You just have to try the yoga.
There you go.
A
Be
little
part of the
bending.
culture, right?
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and so then you
Exactly.
kind of have all levels. Some people are super pro. Some people are new.
Yeah. Yes, all levels. And I try to give a bunch of modifications. And we used to have a guy that's legendary at our class. His name was Fred. And Fred would be known for like laying on the floor. If he didn't want to do something, he's just laying there hanging out. And he used to joke with me, do I get to pay half? Because I'm only going to do half the amount of poses. I'm like, no, that's not how this works. So they know if they don't want to do something, they don't have to do it. Some of them will just stop, stand up, drink their beer, and be like, I'm going to call this beer pose. Yeah, it's
How fun. Because, your typical yoga class, there is no way you can get away with any kind of shenanigans like that.
Oh, no.
It's so much
like,
fun.
There have been times in class where I'm like, I have lost all control. You guys are just laughing and carrying on. You never know what the energy is going to bring. So people will say to me, like, do you have a plan every time you go up? I'm like, nope. I have a framework, but I don't know who's showing up. I don't know whether we're tired, whether we're ready to go. I don't know. I just make it up as I go. I don't know left and right. They will poke some fun at me for that. But that also makes me human, right? Like, I don't know. Sometimes I trip over my words. I call a hand a foot, things like that. And that makes it more like, I'm not perfect. I don't expect you to be.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And what a great atmosphere and environment to be, whether, trying out something for the first time, or even, if you're self-conscious about like, boy, I used to do yoga, but now, like, wow, it really, like, it sounds like such a great environment.
Yeah. In the community, I've had people who've been there pretty much since the beginning. They've created friendships. Like, we have mourned the loss of spouses. We've welcomed babies. We've had hurricane loss that everybody kind of rallies and supports for. Once you become part of the community, if you need something or there's something going on, like, we've got you.
Nice. That is so great. I just love that sentiment. And is there anything else that you want to make sure that we touch on in this interview? I mean, I feel like you guys are doing so much for Yoga Strong, and maybe in terms of back to those scholarships for 1 minute, when does those applications open, and when is the deadline? Do you know?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I think we're changing that. Typically, it's launched in like April, but we're going to back that up this year. So the application should go live in January. Great. That's the goal. It'll probably close April or May, and then we typically do the giving or presenting of the scholarship in August. So like right before they go off to school. And the reason for that timeline is sometimes you don't really know like what your financial aid stuff looks like. And we've had some tricky things to navigate where it's like, all right, if we do this when we already know tuition bills are coming out, this is due, you kind of know what you're on the hook for. We've had a much better experience with that.
That makes sense.
Great. Now, do they have to be graduating seniors starting?
Yep. So this year they have to be eligible for graduation in 2025. And then they need to be going to whatever program, whether it's trade school, community college, or whatever, in fall of 2025.
Okay. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Yep. No, that makes sense. So versus a gap year.
Yeah.
Right. Can't be used gap year. And
do they have to be from the county?
It's available to all of Livingston County.
Okay. Anyone with a Livingston County address.
Correct. So even like Cheryl Stockwell's charter school, right? Like that qualifies as a Livingston County school.
Perfect.
Great. That is really good. And that's a healthy scholarship. And so any of the different sports, because there's so many, and each school district offers a lot of...
Every year we get a little better because we used to just say sport, which we've had some interesting interpretation on sport. And then it was like, okay, we need to make sure that this is encompassed and interpreted the same. So that's when we went like, look, it's got to be deemed a sport by the athletic department, because I am somebody who's like, oh, you think chess club is a sport. I love that. But somebody may argue, well, that's not a sport. So then how do we, I'm a think outside of the box, but not everybody is. So having a little bit more framework and guideline on what that looks like has been helpful. And I know dance is a big one too. We get that question like, well, my kid's a competitive dancer, which is at a studio and not at a school. And again, like we've had to just kind of fall back on, it's got to be through the school. It's got to be deemed by the athletic department as a support.
Right.
You need some guardrails. So that makes sense. Too bad on...
That's also why I'm not part of the committee anymore, because I'm like, give me your best shot. Give me your story. Tell me why you deserve this. Tell me why you want to argue this is a sport, and I'm in. But they're like, yeah, no, that doesn't work that way. Because if we ever get audited or people ask like, hey, how do you select? We have spreadsheets of, we mask the kids. Like I go through, dump everybody in so that if you're from the area, you don't know your kid's name. You don't know anything. You're really just grading them on the criteria that we've asked for. So we try to be as objective as possible with here's what the framework is and here's how we're selecting.
Right.
Well,
that makes sense. Too bad about marching band though.
No.
Is marching band not considered a sport?
I don't know. See, that's an interesting question, but
that's a question.
It's such an easy thing for them to ask the school, hey, is this a sport? Is this not a sport?
Yeah.
And there's so many, for people out there, there are a lot of scholarships out there. Talk to your counselor because we have found so often, we had a graduating senior a couple of years ago. So we went to the parents' night and you go to all these different sessions. And then we chose to go to the scholarship session. We were like the only ones in the room.
Yeah.
And we talked to the counselors and they said, some of these don't even get anyone applying for them.
That is true. So this year we removed the GPA requirement. Removed it. Because if you're playing a sport, you already have some type of GPA requirement by school, right? We had 16 applicants this year compared to the 30 that we had last year. So we had less restrictions on how you would qualify and open it up to trade schools and had less applicants. So my biggest struggle is, how do you let people know that it's available?
Right.
How do you get kids to apply for it? I want the kids to know that it's available.
Right.
Yeah, and getting the word out is the biggest thing. I'm on the board of directors for the Livingston County Spartans, and it's the same thing. We give out 10 $1,000 textbook scholarships each year. And I'll tell you, we're probably in the 20 to 30 people applying. It's very good.
And it's all
odds.
the same kids, because a lot of kids that have received that scholarship have received
Right.
ours as well. So you get the kids who apply for a bunch of them and get them. And then you have the kids who you wish would apply for them and
Right.
don't.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been interesting because each one has its own little stipulations. And I know from the scholarship side of that we've had to draw the line on some things too, because the gap year came up. That was a question.
Yeah.
A lot of different things, but.
And I struggle because it's I want to give it to everybody who deserves it.
Right.
I'm not the one to be. The first year it was okay, we're giving away a $1,500 scholarship. Yeah, I gave 3 because I can't say no, which is why I had to look myself in the mirror and say, okay, I got to be off this committee. I need to ask for help and also give people in the yoga community the opportunity, see what this is, read about these kids, see what to do. So again, just kind of spreading the opportunity to feel like you have an impact.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Good. And realistically, for somebody, if they're not sure if something applies or not, at least apply for the scholarship
or email us, ask, send us a message. I've had parents ask and we'll answer it. Honestly, we try to be fairly responsive and all of that.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. So good. And then you mentioned that you've been in Livingston County for your whole life.
Pretty much.
Yeah. What do you like best about Livingston County?
I love the community in the downtown, and it's just such a positive place to be. I've owned businesses here. I was a Brighton High School alumni. It's just a great place to live, and I keep threatening to leave. I keep not leaving, so there must be something. I know, and now I'm at the point. It's nah, I think I'm here for good.
Yeah, but it's the place to be. So
it is.
Yeah, no, we love it ourselves.
We do,
and it's wonderful, and it's wonderful to see things that people are doing in the community.
Yeah. One of the things that was really important to me, there's a quote that is on my personal website that I live by, and it's find 3 hobbies you love. One that keeps you in shape, one that makes you money, and one that allows you to be creative. So I have different outlets, and the foundation really brings such a joy to me that it's fun.
That is so awesome. And I love that saying. I mean, that really is, that's something that is kind of powerful if you look at it that way.
Yeah. I feel why do we just have to have one thing?
Yeah, exactly. It makes life rewarding.
It does.
Yeah. So wonderful. No, we've loved having you on.
Thank you.
People out there, obviously you can come to Bend and Brew, check out some yoga. You might find that you love it. And if you're looking for a different type of yoga class and have a beer at the same time, where else can you get that? So that's just amazing. I know I was on your website, yogastrongfoundation.org.
Correct.
That is a great website to go to. You can see information on there on the scholarship. You can see some pictures from Christmas wishes. the different events coming up and such. So it is a great resource to be able to learn a little bit about your great organization and how they're involved.
And we'll have the website and the socials in the show notes for those that circle back to it that want to see that.
Yes. So yeah, no, thank you so much for coming. Thank everyone for listening today. Please check out her website. All that information is in the show notes. Check out some of our other episodes of some of the other amazing businesses and organizations in the county.
Yeah, no, it was so exciting to have you, Ashley. And I appreciate you taking the time to come out and meet with us and that we were able to help you spread the word some, because I think that it's just going to keep getting better. And I think you guys are in for a fantastic year this year.
And thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And welcome to Livingston.